Now it's time for GeoGeeks, our regular segment where we bring on a subject matter expert to tell us what's new and interesting in one of our core products.
And here again is Michelle Brake. She is Esri Canada's Enterprise Solutions Specialist and our resident ArcGIS Enterprise GeoGeek. And she is joining us today from Wolfville, Nova Scotia. Hello again, Michelle.
Thank you, Mark and Maggie, for having me back and letting me talk about all things ArcGIS Enterprise. There's so much going on all the time. There's always extra stuff we can look into. Recently, though, I've been digging into some of the kind of add-ons and what we can do with ArcGIS Enterprise to enhance it beyond what our base deployment might be.
Add-ons, that sounds pretty interesting. What types of ArcGIS Enterprise add-ons have you been digging into? Are we talking like different ArcGIS server rules or web applications, things like that?
Yeah, great question. So it's kind of a bit of both. With ArcGIS Excalibur, as well as ArcGIS Deep Learning Studio, both of those go hand in hand in needing some of our server extensions. So ArcGIS Server needing both raster analytics and the image hosting server roles. We've added those in to some of our demo deployments. And then with those two ArcGIS Server roles being in place, we're then able to stand up Excalibur and Deep Learning Studio to work with all the magic that they've got going on.
So I think you mentioned ArcGIS Excalibur, which I'm assuming isn't really used to help fight dragons or vanquish dark magic. I'm assuming it has a much more significant role than that. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what ArcGIS Excalibur does?
Good call, Mark. You're right. Excalibur, so exciting. Dragons, dark magic, sadly not that exciting, but
Heartbreaking.
Equally exciting. We've got ArcGIS Excalibur is a web-based imagery application that helps to enhance your workflows in a collaborative setting in your actual portal rather than working desktop and separately. So these experiences allow you to search and discover and work with imagery fully integrated with these specific workflows for image analytics as well. So Excalibur unifies your traditional separate geospatial and imagery-based views by putting them into a single space. So rather than having to bring up imagery kind of one by one, you're able to overlay everything together while using maximum analytic values, while allowing full integration with authoritative geospatial reference layers across the platform. It's kind of your one-stop shop for working with imagery all in one place. Another thing that does come with this, though, is that we get Excalibur projects, and these are dynamic ways to organize your required resources to complete any image-based task in a single location. No hunting through Portal, looking for your content, quick searches, add everything in. And so these projects include geospatial reference layers that provide context to imagery tasks and tools to help streamline those image-based workflows. Excalibur also allows you to compile and create presentations that can be exported and used in other places in your organization or even in reports or briefings. So essentially, from start to end, Excalibur lets you use focused, web-based imagery applications that are integrated directly into Enterprise. No desktop, we're doing it all in Portal, and then you can streamline that search and discovery and that user experience. Who likes to have everything in one place? I know I do, as we talked about. Less clicks, always great. Working with that fully integrated, like side-by-side visualization, you're able to see all your maps in one space without having to go hunting. We can use image annotations and sketching capabilities, and these are accurate transformations of geographic features. And creating and using these Excalibur projects that allow you to bring in efficient image analytics. It's nice to have everything in one spot. No going between applications. It's your one-stop shop for everything image related.
Wow, Excalibur sounds a lot more interesting than I would have thought. Like, to be honest, I hadn't heard of it before. And, Excalibur, just like Mark suggested, makes me think of magic and dragons and stuff. I've got no way can GIS be that interesting, but it turns out it is actually pretty interesting. Glad you're here to share.
Yeah.
Sounds really cool. I love the imagery stuff, and I definitely gonna have to check that out myself. But I know you also mentioned earlier ArcGIS Deep Learning Studio, and we've heard about deep learning a little bit on the podcast before, but never Deep Learning Studio. Can you tell us more about what that is?
Yeah, so Deep Learning Studio is something that came in with ArcGIS Enterprise 11.0 most people are going to start experiencing at 11.1. And so Deep Learning Studio offers you a project-based space with all the components of deep learning workflows, including user groups, and they're managed efficiently in one space. So similarly to what we were just talking about with Excalibur being everything in one place, we're doing the same thing, but with a Deep Learning Studio. So with this, users can create and manage and even assign collaborations with using different organization groups or work units to help you create and work on your tasks. So one challenge when building deep learning models is collaboration. For example, you might have a scientist working in Ottawa who's overseeing a project while interns in Saskatoon are collecting training data out in the field while an analyst in Vancouver is extracting features. To support this type of cross-collaboration, Deep Learning Studio provides you a project-based, web-based application that allows you to bring everybody together in unison within a shared environment. So how previously a lot of deep learning and AI type workflows would be done in ArcGIS Pro. That is more of a disconnected setting in terms of a team collaboration environment where you're working more so alone, working on your training samples, collecting data, letting things run. Instead, by moving this into the cloud, or depending on your environment, into Portal on-premise, you're looking at expanding that collaborative process. Does it have every single analysis tool you can think of? No. There's some things that desktop is still going to be best for, or running different raster analytics will still be great. But for that collaborative multi-user environment, that's where we really see Deep Learning Studio shine, is bringing everything in for a holistic viewpoint by working together, as well as providing you dashboards to be able to monitor the status of your training data collection and providing statistics to those that are helping to manage the project while labeling different parts of the process and progress to ensure accuracy when you're approving them even. But from there, that's that collaborative process of the first part of the project. Then we move into deep learning models that are specifically included with the web application, and they're able to support object detection, pixel classification, and object classification tasks. And these are all trained models that are ready to go out of the box. So you can start looking at them and working with them directly in ArcGIS Enterprise. And then finally, I know we're getting into so many things within one application. The final step within this pipeline is interfacing. So Deep Learning Studio provides a dedicated viewer in which users can pick their deep learning models, imagery of interest, an area of interest, and run everything within that specific process. So it pulls it all together and lets you do everything in one spot, which I think is pretty cool, where we're working as such across the country in some disconnected workspaces, needing to collaborate. This is a big step forward for us.
Yeah, I could totally see large organizations taking advantage of Deep Learning Studio to be able to do this type of analytics. It's pretty overwhelming, and yes, more evidence that the robots are taking over, but I can definitely see that.
Hey, luckily we don't have ArcGIS Skynet. I think we're okay.
That's very good. Very true. All right, I know, Michelle, you're a person on the go. There's always something happening, so I'm really curious about where can people catch you next?
Mark, have you forgotten? If people want to catch us next, they can check out our ArcGIS Hub webinar that's going to be happening on November 23rd. We might be putting a Barbie spin on it, so definitely stop by and check us out. We're looking forward to seeing you at our Mojo Dojo Casa House.
Yeah, that's right. I got to bring the Kenergy. Is that how they say
You've got all the Kenergy. That Mark host sparkle, as we always hear.
Thanks.
Well, step aside Barbie and King Arthur, because that was Michelle Brake. She's definitely a lot more interesting than both of you. Lots to say about ArcGIS Enterprise. She is our ArcGIS Enterprise GeoGeek, and she is joining us again from Wolfville, Nova Scotia.